Hi everyone, welcome to DMC TV. I'm here today with my lovely wife, Sandra. Say hello.
Hello.
Sandra and I got married a few weeks ago. We're both practicing Catholics, and I thought it'd be cool to do a video today about being a Catholic in the modern day. All the challenges it presents. It's not easy being Catholic, trying to stick to the rules. I think you probably agree with that. They can be tough, whatever it may be. I'm going to talk about a few different things today. I'm going to be asking Sandra why she is a Roman Catholic. I'm going to be asking her, is Catholic guilt real? I'm going to be asking, why is there so much hostility towards Catholicism and Christianity more generally? And also, what Sandra's advice and my advice would be to people considering becoming Catholic or lapsed Catholics, and what the benefits of faith in God are. So, without further ado, Sandra, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. About yourself?
Alright. Looking forward to this video. So the first question is, why are you a Catholic?
Because I am. No, I think when I was younger, I was made to go to church, even though I didn't want to. I was gossiping with my cousin, sleeping during Mass. It was awful. Very ashamed of that. But I think only when I've come back when I've came here, and it was
to England.
To England.
Yeah.
And when it was time to get confirmation, because I had communion in Poland, but it was confirmation, so I think it's around the age of 15.
So for those not aware, Catholics have a few sacraments in their early lives, which is baptism, First Holy Communion when you're about 7 or 8, baptism when you're a baby, typically, and then your confirmation when you're 14, 15. So sorry, for those not aware.
So I really didn't want to go, and I remember it was my secondary school, and a friend of mine, his mum made him go as well, so we both went together, thinking like, look at us going to stick together, it's going to be fun. And there was lots of people there, and the priest is someone I was like afraid of, because in Poland they were, in my church at least, they were very stern, they were very serious. Could never say a joke or something.
Poles being serious? No, really?
And this priest was completely different. He was joking around, he was funny, he was laughing all the time, and over a period of weeks we became friends, and he started coming to dinner to ours, and we really grown to have a beautiful friendship, and he's pushed me in the right direction. And I guess, long story short, is why I am here the way I am, because of him, and I'm forever grateful. Whenever you have a problem, or whenever you're in a pickle, you tend to ask your friends for advice, and this is where I turn to God and pray to him and ask him for advice. I know some people might think it's insane, but he does speak to me, and I feel it in my heart, and then I know after my prayer what is the right thing to do. And rather than asking your friends when they might have some sort of biased opinions about certain things, I could ask my mum, because she obviously loves me and she knows what's best for me, but that's from a human's side.
You can ask friends,
yes.
Family, but also you can pray as well, of course.
Yeah, I know, but in my life I tend to find that whenever I've asked a friend's opinion, it's always steered me wrong. And whenever I ask God, he always steered me right. So, but that's just my opinion. But long story short, I don't know where I would be without God. Like, it's not a matter of question, it's just, that's how it is.
For me, I can't believe the world's here for nothing. I just cannot believe there's no God. I don't believe that everything you see around you, animals, people, natural beauty, well, I was thinking of waterfalls and stuff like that, but I guess we can include you as well, Sandra. No, I just don't. I think we're here for a reason. I don't believe this is all for nothing.
Oh, you don't believe in the Big Bang? Rock hit another rock, and here we are.
I don't believe this. The science-religion debate is another topic for another day. I guess evolution and everything. I just don't believe there's no God, pure and simple. Talking about me, I have pretty much gone to church my whole life. There would have been the odd time for little periods, maybe when I was a teenager or stuff. I was bad when I was a teenager. I prioritised my exams, my A-levels, over church, which I still regret, but, you know, I've asked for God's forgiveness since then. Because stuff in life is important, like exams and other stuff, but nothing's more important than your religion. Yeah, I think the be all and end all is every night when I go to bed I pray, and then we pray together as a married couple. And I think I just can't imagine not praying each night, thanking God for the good stuff, asking for help with the bad stuff or stuff coming up. So I think my main reason is it's the church that Christ founded when, you know, he died and rose again from the dead. There's obviously lots of other religions and other Christian denominations since Christ's death, but I think the Catholic Church is the church Jesus founded. Like I said, I just can't imagine a world not believing in God, because God is real and he's here to help us all.
Hey, and God is not dead. He's here.
My next question is, what is Catholic guilt and is it real?
It's real. And Catholic guilt is something that you know is wrong, but you still do it anyway, and then after the fact, you feel horrible
about yourself,
and you're like, oh, why did I do that? I knew it was wrong, but I still did it. And it's the fact that as humans, you know is wrong and you still do it. That's just, it's horrifying experience, because as Catholics, you do have to control your actions, and it's something little, something could be stupid. Like, one of them is lying. Some people would say it's a white lie, whereas other people would say, no, lying is lying. You call it as it is. And an example is, you lie to one person, but then you have another person, and then that third person brings it up with the other person, and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to keep up with my lie, because it does keep up with you eventually, and then you're in this confrontation. But that's another thing.
You should never lie.
You should never
when
lie.
You lie, you need to have a good memory when you lie. It's just so not worth it. Just don't lie. Just don't lie, people. Yeah. Sorry.
No, but that's just an example. There's other things, of course, but you cheat on a test as a teenager, and then you feel like, oh my goodness, am I gonna get caught by my teacher? Or another student is gonna say, miss, he's cheating. So it's another thing. But then I remember it was years ago, and it was actually a religion test in Poland, and I did not prepare, because I was thinking,
I'm shocked.
I know, and it was about 10
shocked at all.
commandments, and I was thinking, oh, there's so many words, so many sentences. I know it was like 10 sentences, but I was thinking, we had a weird teacher. We had a weird teacher, and she said you have to say word by word what it is.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I going to remember that? And I was like 10, and I had a cheating sheet. Cheat sheet, yeah, in my lap. Sorry, underneath my lap. So I would just open my legs and quickly read and quickly write. She caught me after the first one, and I was like, oh, I'm known as this person who's cheated on religion tests. How awful I felt all right after. But guess what? I got 10 out of 10.
But you got caught.
I know, but the thing is, I was caught on the first word as I was writing.
But she caught you.
She caught me, so I had no cheat sheet. It was completely taken
from
me.
I thought you just failed at that point. So
No.
But
so she took my sheet off, but it's just how I was so worried, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, she's gonna, like, I was the worst cheater, like, ever. But it was so obvious as well. But I did get 10 out of 10, and it's something sometimes you sort of think about how, oh, I'm going to, like, rather than be good and stick with your things that you feel here the right thing, sometimes you're like, oh, the easy way out is to do this, but then you do feel guilty about all this stuff.
But I think looking at that differently, if you'd done that test and got 10 out of 10 with the cheat sheet, would you not say Catholic guilt later is feeling bad about yourself, because it's not a true reflection of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So for me, it's when you do something bad. So I don't know. No, I was gonna say, like, imagine, like, I'm really tired, really tired, whatever reason, had a long day or whatever else, and then my mum or someone else is like, Dan, can you do this? And 99% of the time, I'm like, yeah, fine. When you're just so tired and miserable and moody and sulky, you're like, no, and you just, like, storm upstairs. And then you come back 5 minutes later downstairs because you feel so bad about yourself, like what you've just said to your mum or whatever else. I think it's stuff like that. It's stuff that you know in the moment it's wrong, but it's just more convenient and it's easier. And it means you don't have to do something. But then later, you just can't. Well, me, you just can't stop thinking about it. Whereas if you just done the thing at the time, you could have just got on with your day and then felt fine.
Well,
that's Catholic guilt to me.
Well, let's rephrase things. Catholic guilt is what you're saying it is, but nothing that's easy is good. Never.
Yeah.
In relationship, you have to persevere. You sometimes have to argue to get past the difficult stage. You sometimes, it's, a lot of people tend to get out of a relationship after like 2-3 months, maybe max 6 maybe, because it got difficult, people got needy, people got more invested, and that's how it works.
They're not all as good as me, babe.
And it's like, why do we look at those like seniors that they've been together for like 60 years? It's because they persevere. It wasn't easy. They could have gotten out of that after probably like a year, but they chose not to. It's persevering. And the same thing is with Catholic guilt. Rather than going for it, you know it's bad and you're still doing it, do something that's better. Do the opposite and persevere, but you will be much happier with your choices. Period.
I agree. It's hard, like I say. Even though, can be a good person, we all sin, and we all when we're tired, we might say something when we're tired or moody or something, and the aftermath of that, you just feel worse. Well, I know I do. I feel worse about myself, and it's better to just bite your tongue in the moment, so you don't feel that way later. But yeah, I guess from my point of view, I think we're saying the same thing, just in different ways, basically.
And another thing is, when we do the sort of something bad and we feel guilty,
sin, yeah,
we've obviously sinned of some sort of extent, and the only way through the only way in Catholic, the only way.
The only way. I'm keeping this in, by the way.
The only way to get through this and get rid of sin is basically going to confession, and that makes you feel even worse because you have to state the fact of, oh, I've done this and I didn't choose the hard way, I've chosen the easy way. And I think that actually helps me to state the fact out loud, say it, because a lot of people will say, oh, you're basically going to a priest, saying a bunch of stuff, and then he just knows it all. But as Catholics, we don't believe that, because when we go to confessional, we think it's not priest in that moment, it's Jesus.
It's God, yeah.
And he's listening to all our sins. And it's the fact that you can be this big person and state your sins and how sorry you are for them. That's what brings us closer to God and makes us not want to do it again.
And obviously the priest can't tell anyone.
Of course, it's confidential. You're not supposed to.
It's not leaving that room.
Confessional. Yeah.
So one of the harder things that I find about being a Catholic, throughout my life I'd say, but more as the years have gone on at my grand old age of 28, is the amount of abuse, hostility, cursing, piss taking, whatever you want to call it, of Catholicism and Christianity more generally. I find it horrible. It really does. I'll be watching a TV talk show and he'll be talking about something and they'll just mock Christianity. It will just be mocking religious figures like Christ or the Virgin Mary or anyone else needlessly, just for the sake of a few cheap laughs, not because they're actually criticising anything these people or Christ or Mary or anyone else has done. But this is in media, TV shows, comedy clubs, films. There's always, even just blasphemy about Christ or Jesus or something, God, or something. I hate it all. It really does sicken me. Christianity seems to be the only religion this happens to, so I'm wondering, from your point of view, why is Christianity targeted so much?
Because we're an easy target.
Yeah.
God teaches us to turn the other cheek, be non-violent, and that's what makes them, we can bully them, we can attack them, because they won't do anything, absolutely nothing about it.
Well, when Jesus said, if you strike my face, I can't remember the exact terminology, I'll get the verse up for the video, but turn the other cheek is essentially the saying when he was slapped.
That you just have to be resilient as a Catholic and not give in to it, really.
Do you think we're too soft?
No, I think we can be the bigger person.
But is it not doing us more harm than good? Like, there's obviously limits to how you respond, but when you have a religion such as Catholicism, which, you know, the Ten Commandments is completely non-violent, there's no, you know, wars and everything else, you'll always see Catholic bishops and cardinals always preaching against any of this stuff, even if there are atrocities going on wherever in the world it may be, which is obviously you can understand. But then the flip side of that is we just continue to get mocked, abused, because these people know nothing will happen to them. The law's not on our side. There was a woman who got arrested for praying, literally praying in her head outside an abortion clinic.
No, I was one of them, so thank goodness I didn't get arrested.
No, there was a woman arrested like either this year or last year for that. If you look at the case of the Satanic Verses with Salman Rushdie, he wrote the Satanic Verses, which basically some Muslims say is blasphemous. It's talking against the religion of Islam. He did that in the 80s, and he was hidden because a fatwa was issued by the Iranian government from memory, and he survived for a bit. Well, he did. He's still alive, but he was stabbed last year, at an event by a Muslim, who 1988, so over 30 years later, for something he wrote or said or did, there was a consequence. No Christian, we're not taught to do that, would ever do that. Someone could go out on the public platform and say all sorts. Frankie Boyle comes to mind, who's said like derogatory things about Christianity. He knows that no Christian's going to go and kill him or stab him or try to kill him. He knows that. And I'm not saying Christians should respond if someone insults their religion by attacking someone, but I think the fact that we're told not to and we don't push back in any way is why it happens to us so much. And I'm trying to, even with friends, in fact I've had friends say really, I had a friend recently who was saying possibly visiting the Holy Lands, and he's like, oh, you're going to go to Israel to do all the boring stuff, and that to him, he wasn't saying it in a jokey way, he was like deadly serious, and that again is insulting, and you know, I could have hit the roof over that, but I didn't, and I'm wondering, should I have done? Why are you treated as the weird one when you respond to something?
So, when you said few of the bits at the beginning, it reminds something already popped into my head. You have to sort of embrace yourself like as if you were Jesus. So on his way of cross, everybody was spitting on him, pushing him, and he didn't fight back. And that's what Jesus wants us to do. He doesn't want us to fight and get into an argument. He wants us to love him and be near him and all that stuff. But he wants us to also protect him, and on his way of cross, he didn't fight back. He was pushed, and people wanted him dead. It's like sometimes when there's people against us, and then they argue with us, oh, you're defeating God, or you're always going to church, or you always do that, and you always do this and this. It's not something, the only way for us to fight back is with our knowledge, I would say. Learn more about God, read the Bible, read the Catholicism books, just to get to know more about God, because I feel some people can defend God in a much better way because they have that knowledge, like theologists. They're very bright people, they know so much, and you can't argue with theologists. They're too smart for like normal lay people, they are, and because they know so much. But because they know so much, they lose every single argument. Like normal person loses argument continuously. But I would say, long story short, we're always going to be an easy target, and we just have to persevere and fight with our knowledge rather than physical.
Yeah, I don't fully agree. I'm not saying we should be, obviously, I'm not saying we should be killing anyone or all the rest of it, or
So what do you think we should be doing?
attacking people. I don't think we should do nothing. That's all
So
I'm
what do
saying.
you think you should do?
I don't know, but I have to give it more thought. I don't think.
Yeah, but I'm not saying do nothing. I'm saying learn about God and then learn to defend Him.
What I'm saying is, I don't think we should completely do nothing. So my final question, Sandra, is: what would your advice be to someone who is interested in Catholicism, maybe looking to get baptised, possibly join the faith? Someone who's a lapsed Catholic who was born Catholic, doesn't go to church, not sure if they believe. What's your advice to these people about what your Catholic faith has done for you?
Pray because you'll go hell. No, I'm just kidding. I would say...
Half joking, half joking.
Well, if you're a lapsed Catholic or you've been introduced to Catholicism in one way or the other, then you do know the rules, basically. If there was someone who had no inkling of Catholic faith, they've heard of it but never been introduced to it, or they don't have friends who know about it and they don't really have like an inkling of what's going on, I think things like this can be slightly talked about differently. But as a Catholic or someone who has an idea or was raised in a Catholic family, they have an inkling of what's heaven and hell, and they do know that God is out there and God is real, and you don't live and you just die and that's it, and worms eat you. It's not like that. It's you live on this earth, you make of what you can, you try to be a good person, but then after you do die, you go to God and He has a little conversation with you, and you will sort of like be judged of what you've done. Now I don't mean judgment in a bad way, I do mean you'll be judged for all the good things that you do, so make sure that you do loads of good. But I would say that
I'm just going to say on that point as well, obviously people do, everyone sins, everyone does bad things, but if you genuinely do go ask for God's forgiveness, He will forgive.
yeah, because He's a loving God.
As long as you are actually sorry. You know, when people sort of go, oh, sorry, don't
No,
not
I'm
mean it.
insincere. Like,
When I say if you are actually sorry in your heart for something, God will forgive you.
Well, yes, but you do have to come back to your faith and do proper confession, because there is these things like people who are lapsed Catholic, and when they're close to death and they're dying, and maybe one of your friends will call up a priest or something like that, you will have your last confession, and if you're really sincere and you apologize and you feel deeply like sorrowful in your heart, like, you know, I've done this and I've done that and I don't want to be this person and I don't want to do it again, it's very different. But if you do say, like you say, oh yeah, sorry, it's like people can see past you, and so can God. Like He knows exactly what you're thinking and what you're going to do, like all the time. And even though you say, as a lapsed Catholic, you might say, oh, but it is so hard. Like I said, nothing good is easy. It is hard. But you just have to persevere and try to be a good person. Because one day when you do have kids, those kids will imitate you, and what you do, they will do, and it will carry on the race of all the humans. And so you always have to do the best that you can so everybody else follows with you, because one little act of kindness will follow. I truly believe that, and it has happened in my life so many times. A random stranger done something so kind, but because they've done something quite kind, it made me want to do something kind for a complete stranger, and that chain literally goes along, and it's just
Multiply effect.
Yeah. And another thing is, we're so influential by people. Could be good people, could be bad people. Now, I'm not saying everybody's bad, but there's some people who are very opinionated, and like atheists. Also atheists are lapsed Catholic, by the way. So that's another thing. So they do know exactly a lot about faith. They just, most of the time with atheists, they've lost someone who've died, and they've prayed, and God still took them away, and that's the reason, because with all the hatred in them, they try to be against God now. But well, I believe in my heart that atheists usually come back to God anyway, because they're just upset with Him. But But with the most of the time we're swayed by people with opinions, and it's only because we don't have enough knowledge about something. So I always say educate yourself about whatever, because then you have a stronger argument for whatever reason. And with God, well, get to know as much as you can, because you can never be straight wrong, really. And we do listen to other people which sway our direction, and then we believe into something that we don't really know about. So if there's people thinking, oh yeah, well this and this is happening, and then you're like, okay, well I'll believe it. Well, it's really like politics, isn't it?
I think as well, what I'd say, something we've not touched on, the church hasn't always covered itself in glory, the way it's dealt with things, and the obvious one is the child abuse scandals, like in Ireland or wherever else. I would say to people, obviously those things are disgusting, the men involved in that who covered it up, did the acts and covered it up, are disgusting as well. I don't think that's a reason to leave the faith, and I'll give an example. If at a school there's a few teachers who were found out to be messing around with children and there's a cover-up, you wouldn't say that education is a bad thing. You'd say that those teachers were bad. You wouldn't remove yourself or your children from education. You just go to another school. In the same way, it's not Christ or his church or the teachings of the church that are bad. In those examples, it is bad people. And you can always go to another. You see, the church has done damage for generations with this and the cover-ups. But I would say to keep the faith, even if a priest or someone has done something bad to you or someone you know, it's not a reason to lose the faith, basically. That's my main sort of message. And I think the church does still have a lot of making up, I don't know what the term I'm looking for, work to do, I can't think of the term, to a lot of its victims. But like I say, I think faith in Christ, in God, Holy Spirit, essentially it's not a reason to give up on your Christian, your Catholic faith. Don't let bad people who are not acting as Catholics, who are not a Catholic in their heart, the way they behave, put you off the Catholic faith. There's so many good Catholics out there, the vast majority. Don't let a few bad men, a real minority, put you off faith with God.
Amen.
And also don't listen to idiots who have nothing else to do but criticise. We all know the people who just criticise. Don't take any notice of them either. If you are interested in faith and in God and you need help, want help, go to your local church. Go speak to a local priest. Speak to your friend who's a Catholic. Can all start from one conversation. Right, after that, I don't know what I'd call that. That was a discussion, sometimes debate, conversation. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, like I say, the pair of us are practicing Catholics. It's a big influence, good influence on our lives. Something I'll just touch on this really quickly. Nothing that Catholicism prohibits, drug abuse or whatever else, like drug usage, sorry. These forbidden fruits, you don't need them, and that's why they're prohibited. It's not always easy to be a Catholic, but it's worth it, I'd say. I think we both agree on that, yeah?
100%.
So, yeah. And if you like this video, please subscribe to DMC TV. Many thanks. Bye.